So the first mains discussion is based on this news article, which appeared on page number 12 in the Hindu newspaper. Context of this news is that recently there's a petition in the Supreme Court, and even Supreme Court raised one question, that is unmarried Indian women having a child by surrogacy will be accepted by the Indian society or not. So there was a question in return to this question by a petitioner, which where she challenged the provision of Surrogacy Regulation Act 2021. Now, to understand that question, you need to have clear idea of provisions of this act, which we will take in later part of our discussion. Now, the second question is that why we have taken up this, because it is very important from the paper one Indian society perspective. It deals with women vulnerable section. Then government intervention is very important from your paper two perspective. So because of that, we have taken this article. So in this article, we'll discuss basics about surrogacy. Then we'll see why there was a need for such act for regulation. What made government to come up with this act? Then what are the concerns related to provision? Then we can understand the problem of this petitioner, and we will end our discussion with a brief conclusion. So this is the structure of our discussion. So let's start with the first question. What is surrogacy? In a layman terms, surrogacy is when a person carries or deliver a child for another person. When any couple is like facing difficulty getting pregnant, at that time, this works as a solution. Okay. So now, who is involved? First, the person carrying the baby. That person is known as surrogate mother. Now, couple taking the custody or guardianship of that baby will be the intended couple or commissioning parents. Okay. So these two are the stakeholders here, surrogate mother and intended couple or commissioning parents. Now, what is the need of surrogacy? Why a person need to carry child for another one? What is the need behind this all? See, the first most important reason is infertility, which is a burgeoning health concern with respect to men and women. So because of this, there is a rising demand in artificial fertilization techniques. You take example of YPF, egg freezing, surrogacy. So surrogacy comes under that. It is one of the solution to cure this problem created by infertility, because there is a rising demand among couples embracing parenthood. Okay. Now, infertility is not the only reason. Second reason is socio-economic factors. Now, how socio-economic factors can be the reason behind this? See, because of financial independency, there's a rise of independent couples, and because of that, because of rising demand from a widow, from a divorcee parent, divorcee. So, because of the rising demand, they will opt for surrogacy. Now, by accepting child from surrogacy can change the landscape of reproductive choices, which is because of the altering family system. There's a Earlier, there was a some kind of notion with respect to family, that child will be coming from a parents. There's no concept of uh, IVF, egg freezing, surrogacy. So there was a common notion, but because of the altering individual needs and changing family structure, create change in the landscape of reproductive choices, and surrogacy is one among them. Okay, so these are the two prominent factors behind the rising demand of surrogacy. Now, you know why there was a growing demand. So, according to Surrogacy Regulation Act 2021, surrogacy is a practice where a woman gives birth to a child for an intending couple with the intention to hand over the child after the birth to the intending couple. Okay, so this is the definition provided in the act. Now, there are different type of surrogacies. First one is altruistic, second is commercial, and third one is compensated. Altruistic surrogacy is when you are carrying a baby with no motive for money or financial gain. It is purely or entirely based on altruistic desire. So that is altruistic surrogacy. Okay. Second is commercial surrogacy, where an individual is charging a fee or a compensation for carrying a baby for the couple, and it is kind of a contract agreement. Okay. So where you are carrying a child for monetary gain or financial gain. That is commercial surrogacy. Now, one is altruistic surrogacy based purely on altruistic desire. One is commercial surrogacy, take it as an agreement, take it as a job where one individual is getting paid for that. Now, in between, there is a compensated surrogacy. Here, couple will take the charge of medical expenses of that individual, and it will provide base for when that individual is not working. Couple will compensate for that. So couple will compensate only specific charges. They will not pay extra fee or financial. They will not sign kind of a contractual agreement for the same. That is compensated, which lies between altruistic and commercial. Here it's compensated because couples are paying for specific charges like medical charges and etc. So these are the three types of surrogacy: altruistic, compensation, and commercial. Now, you know what is surrogacy, stakeholders involved, reason behind coming up, then types of surrogacy. Now, government came up with a regulation in year 2021. So, what made government to came up with regulation that too in year 2021? Okay, government was forced to do, forced in the sense that circumstances were like that they have to come up with some kind of regulation for this problem that is uh, created by surrogacy. So, what happened in India? Commercial surrogacy was legal. You take it from year 2002 to 2015. India was having a legal commercial surrogacy. So definitely, when something is legal, that demand will rise, business will expand. Because of high demand, the unprivileged women was taking it as an opportunity to lend their womb for fair prices, which can improve their way of life as well, because they are coming from the unprivileged section. But unfortunately, few middlemen take it as an opportunity to exploit the same. So they created a nexus between healthcare system and women, and they started exploiting it. You must have heard many news articles that Gujarat is one of the hub for surrogate mothers because of the exploitation. led by this middleman. Okay. One is because of this. Second, if you see countries like Iceland, Germany, Sweden, they put some kind of restriction on surrogacy. So these couples or foreigners couples, they drift towards India. This also become one of the prime reason behind exploitation of Indian women in regard. So these are the two prominent factors, and you can gauge the intensity of this market that in year 2012, uh, surrogacy transaction is near about 2.5 US billion, 2.5 in 2012. So to solve the problem, government came up with a regulation in year 2021. So government came with Surrogacy Regulation Act 2021. In this act defines the surrogacy, as we have already discussed this thing earlier, that what is surrogacy. Okay. This act prohibits commercial surrogacy. Earlier it was legal. With this act, it prohibits commercial surrogacy. Now there is only one option, altruistic surrogacy. Okay. And it allows altruistic surrogacy. Now you know the meaning of altruistic surrogacy? Purely based on altruistic desire, helping others. And it bans commercial surrogacy. So you can't consider surrogacy for your financial gain. Now it is no more contract. Okay. Further, this act specifies the eligibility criteria. Okay. Now surrogacy is permitted only for those intending couple with proven infertility. Second, Indian women who is widow or divorcee between the age of 35 to 45 can intend the benefit of this act. Okay. Go through this line again. Indian women who is widow or a divorcee. So the marriage became the principal or objective criteria behind this. If someone is married, then only it can be a widow or a divorcee. So marriage became the base. Now, financially independent Indian women who is unmarried cannot get the benefit because of this eligibility criteria. And that is the context of this news article, because a petitioner who raised question, she is Indian woman, 35 years of age, and she is unmarried. So she cannot avail the benefit because of the eligibility criteria set by this act. Got it? Then she argued that the reason behind setting this eligibility criteria boiled down to patriarchal mindset. Why? Because you made marriage as sacrosanct under this act. One person need to be married to get the benefit. So this is a problem, and that is why she uh, went to Supreme Court. Now, another eligibility criteria is for surrogate mother, that she need to be a close relative. Okay. So this altruistic surrogacy will work only when you will have a close relative who can help couple in this. So the first is for the couple or for the individual who can avail the benefit, and second is for the surrogate mother. Now, when government came up with regulation or to solve some kind of issue which we have already discussed, but this act also came up with few concerns. Let's see those concerns. The first one is this provision is exclusionary. Why exclusionary? Because it is including some and excluding some. And under excluded one, we have LGBTQ+, then single parents, then unmarried girls. So these categories are excluded from this provision. It raises concern on diversity and inclusivity. Okay. Second is altruistic surrogacy is paternalistic. Why it is paternalistic? See, altruistic surrogacy is based on altruistic desire, but in the process, female face emotional and mental toll, but she can't get financial compensation for the same just because we prohibit commercial surrogacy. Now, this aspect is because of our paternalistic approach. It expects women to provide reproductive choices based out of compassion. Okay, there is no monetary aspect related to it. So basically, according to patriarchal biases, women's work hold no monetary value or economic value. This is the same issue uh, Indian working women is facing, and that is why their work is unpaid work. They are not getting any monetary support for the same. So, our second point, that altruistic surrogacy paternalistic because of patriarchal biases is perpetuate. Okay. Now, the third is it does not respect the bodily autonomy of women. In what sense? See, this regulation made this made it to right based to need based. Now it's not your right, it's all your need. So it does not respect the bodily autonomy of women, what women wants. Okay. So basically, this regulation devoid of respect for bodily autonomy of female. Second is impetus to black marketing. Now, anything which is prohibited, definitely that sector will become underground and it will be unregulated, unlicensed, which is again a cause of concern. And because of this regulation, because of complete blanket ban, there's a huge risk coming out from black marketing. Okay. Then next is it does not define close relative. As I told you that they put a eligibility criteria that surrogate mother need to be a close mother or close relative. Okay. This they have mentioned that surrogate mother need to be a close relative, but they didn't provide any kind of detail with respect to close relative, that how you will filter down that this relative is close and this relative is not. Okay, so there is no clear demarcation, and when there is no clear demarcation, again is a cause of concern because it will lead to exploitation of this channel. Okay, the next is reproductive liberty to the couples. See, this provision filtered down couples on the basis of objective criteria, that is either they should be divorcee or widow, then only they can opt for surrogacy. So what you're doing here, you are denying reproductive right to an individual. Okay. The next is no power to make decision on abortion. Here, intending couple or commissioning parents, they are not getting any kind of right to consent with respect to abortion of that surrogate child. Even if that child is having medical abnormalities, then also they don't have any say. So, with this provision, you are limiting or you are restricting couples opting for surrogacy as a solution. Okay. So, no power to make decision on abortion. Last but not the least, identify an emotional aspect. Now, here you allowed altruistic surrogacy, and that person, surrogate mother, need to be a close relative. Now, if child, suppose one child is there and her surrogate mother is also part of family, then couples. So, this familial bond and emotional complexity is difficult for everyone, for surrogate mother, because she can't maintain that gap. Then for couples, because the emotion couple is having, that mother is also having, and in future it can create problem for child as well. So identify an emotional aspect is one of the concern with respect to Surrogacy Regulation Act 2021. So these are the concerns with respect to this act. Now, having seen concerns, what should be the way out? See, the way out is that act should be revised for what? To establish a comprehensive and inclusive procedure. Why inclusive? Because currently it is exclusionary, excluding single parents, excluding unmarried girls, then excluding LGBTQ. To make your community inclusive, we need to revise current regulation. Then this revised procedure should aim to make surrogacy readily accessible to the deserving citizens of India. Right now, you need to come up with a close relative, which is very difficult to find. So, okay. So, this is all about surrogacy. And if you have any kind of doubt or query, you can drop in a YouTube comment box. We'll try to solve as soon as possible. So, our next discussion is based on this news article, which appeared on page number 13 in the Hindu newspaper. Now, context of this news article is that Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee comes under UNEP, and this committee met in Nairobi for the third round of negotiation. Second round of negotiation happened in Paris. Okay, for what? To develop an international legally binding instrument to end plastic worldwide. Okay, it will solve the life cycle issue of plastic. So their idea is to develop an international legally binding instrument. Now, why we have taken this? Because environmental pollution and degradation comes under your GS paper 3, which is very important. Plus, UPSC has been asking questions based on various aspects related to pollution. Like in year 2023, UPSC asked about oil pollution. In year 2015, UPSC asked about air pollution. So anytime UPSC can ask about repercussion consequences of plastic pollution. So in this article, we'll discuss what is plastic pollution, consequences, what should be the way out. Okay. Now let's quickly see the key takeaway of this meeting. So the secretariat came up with a zero draft, which contains strong options for an international legally binding treaty to end plastic pollution. Okay. Now, other things which member agree to do so is that they water down their core obligations, particularly those pertaining to high impact elements such as primary polymer production. In this, they also agreed that they need to find strong measures against life cycle of plastic, but there is a diverse opinion on same. This difference of opinion came that according to few, that life cycle of plastic starts at the procurement of raw material stage, but for others it starts at designing of the product. So because of that, there is no common consensus. Okay. Then second point of uh, confusion is on financial mechanism. They all want to come up with financial mechanism which can solve the problem of plastic pollution. But problem is how to do so. So there is no common consensus, which makes it difficult to implement. Then again, another issue is voting method. Some of the country like India, they are demanding that voting should be based on sort of consents. But for few, voting should be based on two-third of the majority. So again, it's a point of discussion, and there is no common consensus. But some groups stand apart in this meeting, like African group of countries and small island developing states. They played very important role. Their submissions stood out from the rest as they championed the voices of waste pickers and indigenous people. Okay, so these are the important key takeaways from this discussion. Now, let's come to our main topic, that is plastic pollution. Now, what is pollution? Pollution is anything which can destroy the sanctity of the environment. Anything which can hamper the sanctity of environment, that is pollution. Now, uh, anything which is doing so is pollutant. Pollutant can hamper the sanctity of the environment. So here, our prime pollutant is plastic. Okay. So what are the consequences of using plastic? Why plastic is a pollutant? What are those intrinsic character? First is it is non-renewable. 1 to 3% of the plastic only is recycled. Okay. If anything, only 1-3% is recycled. That means it get buried into our land. We can see in the water columns, which is a cause of concern. You take it, whatever landforms, everywhere plastic is there. So it is a cause of pollution there. That's come to our second point. Plastic is it's not recyclable too easily. Then it is quite light, so it can traverse long distance. When something is light, it's not recyclable, then it will settle down in land, water, air. The air we are breathing composed of a lot of plastic particles, which is not good for health. That is pollution. It causes for land pollution, cause for water pollution, whatever pollution. Plastic is there. See, our association with plastic is quite small. Our dependency on plastic is like that for everything from having food to drinking water, we need plastic. But that association time period is quite small, from minute to hour. But the process, that degradable process, the persistence of plastic is quite long. One this plastic water bottles can stay for thousands of years. That's an issue with plastic, and that's the reason behind. And that is why it is a pollutant, major pollutant. Then it is energy intensive. Why it is energy intensive? Because we use lot of water during the life cycle of plastic. Now water is a finite source. So in long run, it will be not sustainable. So that is why it is energy extensive, energy in the form of water. Then, as I told you that plastic get easily fragmented into small particles by the use of natural forces like water, sunlight, etc. So it easily get into our food chains. For example, you take sea turtles. Sea turtles have plastic. Their staple diet is jellyfish. But because of this persistence of plastic in ocean or water column, they have plastic bag in place of jellyfish. See how plastic bag entered in the life or food chain of sea turtles, which is harmful for sea turtle as well as for other species trapped in that food chain. Food chain. Okay, that's how it is harmful to aquatic life and other species as well. Then how it is same goes with human as well. Plastic is primary cause for cancers, birth defects, hormonal imbalance. So these are the concerns raised by plastic and how easily they enter into the food chains. That is a major concern. Now, these are the problems with respect to plastic because of its inherent characteristic that it is not easily recyclable. It is very light, can traverse long distance. It use a lot of energy in the form of water. Then it easily enter into our food chain. So these are all these issues because of its character, quality, parameters, characteristics. But plastic pollution is not just because plastic is like that. It's also because we are not handling that pollution wisely. So reason behind that, what are the challenges to end plastic pollution? The first one is effective waste collection. We don't have organized system to collect waste, to segregate waste, to recycle waste. We don't have single organized system to do these three, that is collecting waste, segregating waste and recycling waste. So in the absence of organized system, we still have plastic pollution. Then there's no second is national policy for recycling plastics. We don't have national policy for recycling plastics. Okay. And even if center come up with the idea to set up a recycling plant in any state, then state pollution control board come with the opposition that you can't do so. It will be a cause of concern for our people. And that is why till now we don't have national policy. We don't have single organized system. We don't have national policy. Now, the last is attitudinal change. Now, our life is so dependent on plastic that it is very difficult for human being to easily dissociate from it. So this is a time taking because it requires positive attitudinal change, and this change is quite time taking. So because of that, this is one of the challenge to end plastic pollution. Okay, so these are the three major challenges to end plastic pollution. Now you know the consequences, you know the reason behind this plastic pollution. What should be the way out? Before that, because of this problem, government came up with Amendment Act 2021 with respect to plastic waste management, and this rules talks about prohibition of single use plastic, timeline, what should be the thickness of plastic bags. As I told you, it's very difficult to dissociate because you need to have you are using plates made up of plastic to have food, uh, drinking water from the plastic bottles, then bags to carry the items. So there's what should be the thickness of plastic bag mentioned in this rule. Then who is the monitoring agency? According to this rule, Central Pollution Control Board along with State Pollution Control Board. Then what is extended producer responsibility? Okay, so these are the major rules under this amendment, and you can take a screenshot or you will get the info in our PDF also. I'm not going much in detail. Now let's discuss what should be the way forward. The first is effective waste management. Now, as I told you, we don't have single organized system and we don't have a national policy as well. So what is much needed? We need effective waste management which can wisely do collection, segregation and recycling. Okay. Then for this we need lot of investment. So government should uh, infuse lot of money to set up effective waste management. Then second is sustainable products. Here government can do its part, but our association with plastic is quite compact. So what we need sustainable products so that our reliability on plastic should go down. For that, we need sustainable products. So government should come up with scheme to promote sustainable products which can easily replace plastics. Okay, and that should be cost friendly. Then third is internationally legal binding agreement. We need internationally legal binding agreement. Now, wait, if this goes well, then what we have internationally legal binding agreement to end plastic pollution worldwide. Then you can replace this suggestion from your way forward. Okay, once it get finalized, then promoting use of waste plastics. See, plastic can be used as a binding material, like plastone is there, making of roads, constructing houses, etc. Then promoting biodegradable plastics. Government should promote biodegradable plastic, which is made up of husk, cow dung, etc. wood. So by making which is made by algae. So this biodegradable plastic can solve the problem of persistence or that long shell life of plastics, which is because it will be easily degradable, which is the major concern and challenge with respect to plastic pollution. So these are the important way forwards. So in crux, what we need? We need segregation of waste at sources. Then we have effective collection of the segregated waste, which should be transported safely. Then what is must needed is cost effective recycling. Cost effective recycling. Then less landfilling and dumping in the environment. And most importantly, awareness, which should come up with positive attitudinal change. Okay, that's all with respect to plastic pollution. Now, here we'll come up with our last mains discussion, which is based on this news article, which appeared on page number 14 in the Hindu newspaper. This article is about global positioning system and major recent developments. And the science and technology is important from your GS paper 3 perspective. So what is GPS? Global positioning system is GPS. And what is that? It is a satellite based navigation system. Based system. Now it composed of satellites and receiving devices that will help you to get the exact location of the user, which is based on three parameters: altitude, longitude, latitude. So this combination of satellites and receiving users devices will give you exact location of the user. Okay, and from where it came? It came from US. So there was a first experimental satellite project which was launched in year 1978. Okay, so this is basic about GPS. Now, what are the components of GPS? As I told you, it is a network of satellites, receiving devices. So the first is satellite. Space segment consists of near about 24 satellites in this, positioning at 20,000 kilometer. Now these satellites are constantly sending signals, radio signals, which provide information about location, time, and other data. Okay, these satellites are constantly sending signals, radio signals, which provide information about time, location, etc. Now these satellites are arranged in such a way that them at any point of time at any place. You can see 4 of them. Okay, they are placed in such a way in space segment. Now, after satellite, what is the another component of GPS is ground control station. Now, ground control station, what is the use of ground control station is to monitor these satellites, whether they are orbiting rightly or whether they are following the right path, any issue is there or not. So they are just monitoring these satellites. How many satellites? 24 satellites in the space segment. Then we have GPS receivers. What is the role of these receivers? These receivers used to receive signals sent by the satellites. Okay. And these receivers are basically, you can see in your smartphones, navigation devices, etc. Okay. So these are the key components of GPS system. You can see in this figure or in this image as well. This is the space segment. This is user segment. And this is the control segment controlling these satellites. And here we have 24 satellites at 20,200 kilometer height. Now we know what is GPS. What are the key components of GPS? Its utility depends on how it works. Okay. So basically, GPS receive signal from GPS receiver picks up signals from various GPS satellites. Okay. And these satellites send radio signals which travel at the speed of light. You know this formula, it's quite common. Distance is equal to speed into time. So now you know the speed, that is speed of light. Now here you can see there is a relation between distance and time. Distance is proportional to time. So the time GPS receiver is getting the signal coming from satellite can give you the idea of the distance between that receiver and satellite. Okay. Why? Because of this basic formula. Now when you know that time coming time taken by signal to come to the receiver from the satellite, and you know the exact location of satellites, so you can find the precise or you can find the location of the user. So GPS receiver measures the time it takes for the signal to reach it from each satellite. Okay. Now using the known location of the satellite and the time it took for the signal to travel, so GPS receiver can calculate the distance between itself and each satellite. Now with the distance measurement from at least 4 satellites can give you a precise idea of user's location. Now to get the precise idea of user's location, there is a method that is trilateration. Now what happened? You consider GPS satellite as a flash of light. So when this flash of light strikes ground, it forms a circle of light. So with one satellite, you have one circle, you take it 3. So this 3 circle form this trisection point. This trisection point gives you the precise location of the user. Okay, which depends on altitude, latitude and longitude. That's how you get the exact location. And that's how GPS works. Okay. And now you know what is trilateration. Got it? So what are the different satellite navigation systems? We have 4 global satellite based navigation covering entire Earth. We do have regional one. You know, NAVIC, that is India's regional. We have, we'll see later. So US is having GPS. Just now we have discussed its functioning. What is GPS? Then Russia is having GLONASS, that is Global Navigation Satellite System. Then we have Video Navigation System. Then European Union is having Galileo. This information is quite important for your prelims examination. Okay, so go through carefully. Then Japan has 4 satellite regional navigation system, that is quasi zenith satellite system. Japan is not having global one. Okay, for global one you have US, Russia, China and European Union. Japan and India are having regional navigation system. Okay, the second one after Japan is India with Indian regional navigation satellite system NAVIC. Okay, that is navigation with Indian constellation, and it composed of 7 satellites, 3 geostationary and 4 in geosynchronous orbit. Now you know about GPS, you know about NAVIC. So let's quickly solve one question based on NAVIC. And why we have taken it? Because UPSC has already asked question based on satellite navigation system. And the question is that which among the following has its own satellite navigation system? And the answer is Japan. Okay. So now let's come to the question. With reference to navigation with Indian constellation, that is NAVIC, consider the following statements. So you are provided with 3 statements and you need to identify the correct one. So NAVIC consists of constellation of 7 satellites placed in low Earth orbit. See, partially correct how? Now you need to tell. It's a constellation of 7 satellites. This info is correct. But these 7 satellites are not placed in low Earth orbit. As I told you that it consists of 7 in which 3 lies in geostationary orbit and 4 in geosynchronous, not in low Earth orbit. This information makes our first statement incorrect. Now let's come to the second information. It can provide accurate position information service to users across India and region extending up to 1500 kilometer. See, as I told you, it's a regional. It is not covering entire Earth. It's a regional navigation system. So this statement is correct because it can provide accurate information service to users and the region extending up to 1500 kilometer. Okay. Now let's come to the last statement. It is designed to provide accuracy of around 100 meter. Here the statement is incorrect. Why? Because it is designed to provide accuracy of around near about 20 meter, not 100 meter. This makes our third statement incorrect. So how many statements are correct? Only one. So what should be our answer? A. That is only one. Now let's quickly see the application of GPS, utility of GPS. First, it is quite helpful in providing location-based services in mobile devices, voice navigation for drivers. Then it is quite helpful in mapping, survey and geotechnic measurements like mapping of terrains, creating digital maps. Creating digital maps is quite easy. We all are following that maps provided by GPS. Then it is quite useful for hikers and travelers. Why? Because it helpful in terrestrial navigation. Then you have disaster management. It is quite helpful in precision agriculture as well by helping yield monitoring, variable rate application of fertilizers and pesticides. Then by attaching GPS on weather balloons, you can monitor atmospheric conditions which can predict weather patterns more accurately. So in meteorology, then we have seismology. It can monitor ground movements or plate tectonic activity. So GPS system can detect and measure ground displacement in earthquake research and early warning system. Then in military operation as well, GPS for navigation, target tracking and coordination of operations. So these all are the applications of GPS. Same goes with other navigation system as well. So if there's question which is about the utility of NAVIC, you can frame your answer based on these points. Okay. So if you have any doubt, You can drop your comments or you can drop your question. And that's all for today. Stay tuned for more such